This is the Angels Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Los Angeles Angels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
This is a frustrating one, folks. Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game right here on the Locked On Angels YouTube channel, and after the fact, both on the channel and wherever the heck you get the Locked On Angels audio podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, what's going on, everybody? My name is Gavin Carlson, former credentialed journalist in the LA area. Spent not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 years covering UCLA sports with the Daily Bruin, and now in year 2 with the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Our team is the Angels, and yeah, they lost a frustrating one tonight. There's no other way to put it. 3-2 in 10 innings. So many missed opportunities. The Astros basically having their entire offensive output come before most people even turn the game on in this one. And obviously, we do have to start by saying, first and foremost, thoughts and prayers with our man, Ron Washington. Not too many details about the health issues, but hope everything is okay with him. Obviously, if you didn't hear, and I guess Nathan's in here saying that he didn't hear, Ron Washington will be away from the team indefinitely with some sort of health issues. We don't know what it is. He was at the ballpark. He was in a suite with Perry Managian. So, it's a bummer, obviously, first and foremost for his health, but also in terms of the club and his effect on the club, you can make the argument he's had about the best 4-game stretch managing this team all season. We were giving him his praises in that Yankee series for the way he managed our rotation, the way he managed our bullpen, the way he got stuff out of arms we didn't expect to give us stuff, right? So, we're going to miss him in terms of the in-game management. He had actually been doing some of his best stuff in terms of that, and obviously hoping he's okay health-wise. But with all that being said, shout out to everybody in here, seeing a lot of the familiar faces here on a Friday night. Hope you guys had a nice Friday. Not the way we wanted to cap it off, not the way we wanted to open this series. And yes, for those asking, I do have the throat spray. Going through it, I'm not going to lie, I was questionable on the injury report coming in today's show. I'm not going to be screaming and going crazy as much as normal on the show, just trying to get through it and be here for you guys. But let's not waste any time. I know some of you might be expecting the turning point in an extra inning game. Some of you might be expecting the player of the game with a couple guys having big performances, but no, I'm starting with this.
This is what you'll be talking about.
You have to talk about the missed opportunities for the Angels in this one. An unbelievable 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. 11 men left on base. And it's hilarious, right? It's hilarious. The Astros were also abysmal tonight with runners in scoring position. They go 1 for 8. The problem is it's a 1 and not a 0, and that 1 comes in the 10th inning, right? So it's kind of a combo segment here. Have to talk about the missed opportunities, but it is, of course, a turning point when you go to 10 innings. You start with the Manfred men on second, and the Astros simply executed, and the Angels did not. But that was a theme for the whole night for both teams. And unfortunately, they came through one more time than us, but just so many different guys not coming through in big situations. When we had guys like Mike Trout getting on 3 times via the walk and hit by pitch, right? We had multiple guys take clutch walks in this game, a couple base hits here and there. Obviously 6 is not enough. And the fact that you have 2 situations on both sides where there was a hit by pitch that could have resulted in a run or could have prevented a run. Ours did hit our batter, and our run did not count. Theirs did not hit their batter, and the run does score. So frustrating that we weren't able to come through or get that, assistance, well, in addition to not coming through with runners on base. I'd say the biggest of all of them, and mind you, we stranded the bases juiced twice in this ball game, but I think the one that hurts the most is probably Logan O'Hoppe, because we know how bad Logan O'Hoppe has been. And quite honestly, I don't know. Actually, I think the Taylor Ward one might be the most frustrating because it's a 2-0 pitch, right? And I got all on Joe Adell for swinging at a sinker below the zone in a 2-0 count or 3-0 count or something like that in the Yankees series that resulted in a Volpe error, and we got lucky. Tonight, Taylor Ward doing the same thing, and sometimes the baseball gods are actually going to penalize you for it. Taylor Ward, bases loaded here in the bottom of the third. You're down 2-0. You're trying to get back in the ball game. 2-0 pitch with the bases loaded and 2 out. 2-0 pitch. Cutter nowhere near the zone, down and away, and he swings at it for some reason, hits a weak ground ball to Mauricio Dubon at second base, and the Angels strand the bases juiced in the bottom of the third, but unfortunately, they were just getting started in terms of stranding guys. The other huge missed opportunity coming in the bottom of the sixth, and again, it starts with a combination of walks and base hits. Small ball from the Angels tonight. It looked like it was going to work out very well for us in the bottom of the sixth. I don't know why the Astros decided to take out Hunter Brown so early. He was dealing. He is one of the best pitchers in baseball, but fortunately, he only goes 5 innings. And Sean Dubin comes in and immediately struggles. He hits Mike Trout on a 3-2 pitch. He does strike out Taylor Ward, who has a very, very bad game tonight. But then d'Arnaud is able to get a base hit. Joe Adell takes a nice walk there. I mean, it was a 4-pitch walk, but the bases are juiced. Brian King comes in for Dubin. We had Lamont Wade up. Think the right decision was made. Even though it wasn't Ron, the right decision was made. You have to trust one of the futures of your franchise, as bad as he has been, and especially in a lefty-righty matchup, this has got to be at least a productive out from Logan O'Hoppe. Bases juiced, 1 out, and it ends up being a 2-2 pitch, a sweeper way inside, and O'Hoppe, quite honestly, looks like a fool, right? We get it. You don't want to ground into a double play, but we would love you to just make contact. Just make contact. And the only thing I would say is when you do pinch hit Logan O'Hoppe in this situation, where the only thing you can't have is a strikeout, and you bring in the guy with the highest strikeout percentage in all of Major League Baseball, that's the one thing maybe you question about the decision. But I'm sorry. I'm not going to, hindsight is 2020. I'm not going to criticize the decision here to bring him in. He's one of the faces of your franchise now and in the future. He's a right-handed hitter. They brought in a lefty. Huge opportunity. You got to put him in there. And unfortunately, he did not come through at all. He didn't even have a weak contact. Heck, ground into a double play. I'm not even lying. I would rather have seen him ground into a double play than strike out. As dumb as that may sound, the last thing I want to see is O'Hoppe strike out again. And that's what he did. And then, of course, doesn't help that Rengifo comes up with the bases juiced right after 1-2 pitch, and he swings through a fastball on the outside corner. And so with the bases juiced and 1 out, back-to-back strikeouts in the sixth, at that point, you're still trailing 2-1, and you're very, very frustrated. Now, fortunately, Christian Moore, he arrives, right? He makes his name heard here at the Big A. His first game in Anaheim, and he's able to take a 2-2 fastball inside and absolutely crush it. 108.7 exit velo, 411 feet, ties the game at 2. And it felt like what this game and what this series is supposed to mean and be. It's 2 of the top teams in the AL West, as silly as it sounds with how mediocre we've been all year, right? 2 of the top teams in the AL West. We're trying to close the gap. We're coming off a great series in New York, in the Bronx against the Yankees, and the stadium was rocking. They were booing Jose Altuve out the wazoo all night, and he struck out 4 times as a result. But unfortunately, the energy that this Christian Moore home run brought, it was wasted. And you have to give the Astros their credit. They came through a couple times in big moments. Let's not forget how clutch Christian Moore came with his glove right after the home run with an unbelievable diving catch to Robbie Diaz of a base hit, right? But then they did the same to us. Taylor Ward singles to lead off the 8th, and then one of the plays of the game, right? Probably the play of the game. Jake Myers on a Joe Adell line drive that probably scores Taylor Ward, dare I say, especially if he dives and misses, right? Scores Taylor Ward, gives the Angels a 3-2 lead going into the 9th. Kenley Jansen comes in and tries to get the save, right? But instead, an unbelievable diving play by Jake Myers robs Adell of maybe a game-winning swing, and suddenly there's runner on first with 2 outs. And I'm thinking, all right, we're going to the 9th, tie a game. No, the Angels show life. Gustavo Campero, of all people, gets a base hit. Then Rengifo gets hit by a pitch. Another guy getting hit by a pitch. Unfortunately, it was a wild pitch. We thought it was going to be the game-winning run. Ward has to go back to third, and then Christian Moore comes in 3-2 pitch. He had a good at bat, but unfortunately, they just kept going down and away, and he didn't have it. Foul tip into the catcher's glove for a strikeout. I mean, he would have just made the biggest statement ever in the history of rookies at the Big A if he could have had that game-tying home run and then the go-ahead swing here in the bottom of the 8th, but he did not. And then, of course, we go to extras, and then they simply got it done with the Manfred men, and we did not. They didn't waste any time. Pena, he had an unbelievable game here. 3 hits. He gets an immediate base hit. And then you get a strikeout on Paredes. You intentionally walk Jose Altuve on an 0-4 count, which is pretty, interesting. And then, unfortunately, they do score on the wild pitch by Hunter Strickland, 3-2, and the Angels just lay an egg in the bottom of the 10th, 1-2-3. Ward, d'Arnaud, and Joe Adell. None of them ended up being clutch, and it was frustrating. But yes, I agree, Furry, that would have been electric, magical, a huge statement if Christian Moore was able to do it again there. Still, you got to give him his credit, right? He gave you the big home run when the rest of the lineup couldn't be clutch, and then he gave you that amazing diving play. MT18 saying that behind the plate is absolutely no favors. Yeah, I mean, he was terrible for both teams, I'll be honest. I think the Angels actually got some gifts towards the end of the game. That Christian Moore at bat, there were a couple pitches that were probably in the zone that he called balls. But unfortunately, we weren't able to take advantage of that at bat. He was very, very stingy all night. We knew he was going to be very stingy all night. And, fortunately, they took advantage a little bit more than we did. But at the end of the day, the Hunter Strickland wild pitch is the deciding play. But let's not act like that was the only deciding play. Diving play from Jake Myers, multiple bases loaded, fumble opportunities by the Angels, and, a Christian Moore diving catch that robbed them as well. So a lot of exciting plays in this one. It was an exciting game. The Angels just fall short, and now we have to look forward to the rest of the series to try to make this still a successful home series against those darn Astros. We're going to take our break. When we come back, we'll talk about Yusei Kikuchi and what he did in this one, because it started off about as rough as it could get, but from then on, he looked downright untouchable. I'm going to tell you why it was still an above average and very encouraging start from Yusei Kikuchi. And then I'm going to talk about this close game conversation, right? Obviously, another 1-run game for the Angels. They lose it tonight. They've won more than they've lost in these situations. Are we a clutch team? Are we a lucky team? We'll get to that debate as well after our break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, on this Friday night, today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's a game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible because it makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB game. Of course, I use it whenever I go to just about any sporting event, and will use it when I finally eventually make it to the Big A this season. It has last-minute tickets and zone deals for big savings, like 10% off exclusive zone deals for the FIFA Club World Cup matchups as well. That's pretty cool. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Back here live on a losing edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast. The Angels lose in another 1-run game. You know how the Angels have been doing this season. Very, very, very above average in these close games. There's a conversation I've been having, throughout the last couple of games, throughout the last week or so, in terms of what my expectations or goals are for this team whenever they play against teams that are simply better than us, right? let's not act like the Astros are not better than us. I know they are without a couple of their usual stars. I know Correa's been gone. I know Alex Bregman is gone. I know Yordan Alvarez is hurt. I know Kyle Tucker is gone, right? But the Astros somehow, some way are still the best team in the AL West. They've been doing it all season long. And there's no way that you come into the series thinking we're better than the Astros. The same way there's no way you go in New York and think you're better than the Yankees. But what did they do in that Yankee series? They made every game close late. They made every game what I like to call a coin flip game, and we got more coin flips go our way in that 4-game series against the Yankees. Unfortunately, the coin flip game tonight did not go our way. And so I don't want this to be, I don't want to act like want you guys to act like I'm making excuses for the Angels in terms of losing this ball game. Of course, they did not come through in multiple moments. We talked about Taylor Ward and Ohapi and Rengifo and Christian Moore and that bottom of the 10th inning. Of course, many opportunities for the Angels to come through in this one and win this game, and they did not, right? That has to be said. But the moral of the story is the Astros had just as many opportunities, did not come through in any of them until a Hunter Strickland wild pitch gave them the game-winning run, right? In a situation where they were given the runner on second base, right? So I don't want to downplay the struggles in this game with runners in scoring position, but I don't want to overreact like I think some people are, right? We've got some people saying Taylor Ward sucks, trade him. We've got people saying Logan O'Hoppe stinks, he's not the face, blah, 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 blah. Let's not overreact, right? This was a game against a team that's better than us. We turned it into a coin flip, and we did not win it. It's fine. If you can do the same thing tomorrow, you do the same thing Sunday, you would like to think that at home, you have the advantage in these coin flips. That's not how it's been all season long. For some reason, we hate playing well at the Big A, but give us 2 more games like tonight, and that's really all you can ask for, right? Hopefully you come through in those. A huge reason why this was a coin flip game is because of Yusei Kikuchi, and it certainly did not look like that in the beginning of this ball game. I mean, the Astros go back-to-back home runs to start the ball game. Just the 4th pitch of the game from Kikuchi. It's a 1-2 4-seamer right down the middle. Pena crushes it 402 feet straight away center field. I've got that, of course, made it 1-0 with the leadoff shot. And then the very next batter, Isaac Paredes, and I'm finally knowing how to say his name correctly. Isaac Paredes takes a 2-0 fastball right down the middle. He crushed it 370 feet. He's got 16 homers on the year, and that made it 2-0 before many of you even probably turned the game on, right? So very frustrating. You're sitting there going, oh no, is Yusei Kikuchi against his former team? Is he exposed? Is he cooked? Well, you know what Yusei Kikuchi did? He had a starter's start tonight. He had a pitcher's pitching performance tonight, right? The veteran adjusted, and how beautiful it was to watch, right? The fastball got crushed for 2 home runs. He just simply couldn't locate it on either of those situations. I mean, a 1-2 fastball right down the middle, that's not what he wanted to do. 2-0, maybe, you have to throw a fastball in there, but still did not want to throw it right down the middle, and he did, right? So he did not have control of his 4-seamer early. Of course, the Astros were all over it those first 2 swings. So guess what he did? He relied on the off speed, right? 2 curveballs and a slider, the very next batter to get Jose Altuve, and that just set the trend for off speed, right? The next batter, Yainer Diaz, what does he do? 6 pitches, 5 of them off speed, gets another strikeout. And then what does Cam Smith do? He gets 2 off speed pitches and flies out. And that just set the table for what was going to be a rest of a start filled with off speed pitches. Yusei Kikuchi adjusted, and he was fantastic again. I'm glad he did not get the loss in this game because he did not deserve it. We know his record should be a lot better than what it is. And this final stat line, extremely impressive. Think about it. He gave up 2 hits, 2 home runs, 2 runs in the first 2 batters. Guess what the final stat line is? 6 hits, 2 home runs, 2 earned runs, 9 strikeouts. So extremely impressive. Outside of those 2 at-bats to start the game, the man goes 7 full innings, gives up just 4 hits, and strikes out 9. He was phenomenal. He ended up eating a bunch of innings. We didn't need the Connor Brogdons or the Brock Burks to have to come into this ball game because he went 7 innings. We were able to have Detmers come in and not give up a run. We were able to have Kenley Jansen come in and not give up a run, right? If Kikuchi only goes 5, or if he gives up another run, this game doesn't even go to extra innings, right? So shout out to Kikuchi. I certainly think he was probably the player of the game for the Angels tonight, despite how the game started. He was that impressive. And he went toe-to-toe with one of the best starting pitchers in baseball, right? Hunter Brown came into this game, sub-2 ERA, 8-3. The man is a Cy Young candidate. He's not quite Scooble, but he's certainly up there, and he was fantastic again today. The Angels weren't able to do much, but they were able to do enough because of Kikuchi to keep this one close. Of course, before we end this one, got to give a shout out to the guys that did come through in the lineup. There weren't many. Another 12 strikeouts, only 6 hits for the Angels tonight. But they were spread around, right? No one on the Angels had 2 hits. Ward with a single, d'Arnaud with a hit, Adell, of course, with the home run. And you got to give him his credit. 3 straight games with a home run for Joe Adell. Christian Moore gets the hit on his first career home run. Rengifo had a base knock as well. And Campero comes out of nowhere with a pinch hit single. But 12 strikeouts. Mike Trout gets on 3 times, 2 walks, and a hit by pitch. But there was really nothing else going on. We do have to start talking about Zach Neto. He's been pretty poor in the batter's box lately. Another 0 for 4 for him. And he did lose his mind when he got hit earlier in this game as well. But Angels fall 3-2 in extra innings. They'll be all right. Huge opportunity tomorrow. Exactly. Scott is correct. You got to give a huge congratulations to Christian Moore. Joe Adell is hot, at least with the home runs. And we did play this game without our manager. Once again, thoughts with Ron Washington. But we're going to wrap this one up. Angels 2, Astros 3 to open up this huge homestand and this huge 3-game set against the Astros. We'll be back tomorrow, as always. Another night game, so expect me here late like this one. Maybe not as late if the game doesn't go in extra innings. But no matter what, I will be here. I will be using this spray. I'm actually talking to a doctor tomorrow, so hopefully we can find out what the heck is going on with my throat. But with all that being said, we're going to wrap this one up. Take care, everybody. Keep your heads up. Have a great rest of your Friday night, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night. As you hear sirens going off outside of my window, that's the sign to end this one. Take care, everybody. I'll see you back here tomorrow night. Prayers up for Ron Washington, and go Angels.